What a wonderful honor it is to take the stage after hearing those words from an extraordinary young African. Thank you. Thank you for those wonderful words. Your Excellency, President Paul Kagame, she said something there that was very interesting, Mr. President. She talked about being on the right side of history. There's also a point of being at the right place in history. Today we're at the right place in history. Allow me to begin by just acknowledging the extraordinary students, this inaugural class that is at the right place in history. You know, I never hesitated to come, Fred, because I knew that someday this is one of those days you'll ask yourself, where was I? What you have begun here with your colleagues is surely, truly, only by the term of Rwanda, remarkable. And remarkable because it's in Rwanda. The remarkable heartbeat of Africa. Let me share with you something else I picked up in that class we did with the president this morning. No one told me I was going to school. But what a privilege we had this morning to have the president take a class. And he said something which in many ways resonates with the theme of what I want to share with you as an entrepreneur. Big visions. We have a lot of big visions in Africa. But big visions often require humble beginnings. Seen across the backdrop of great institutions of the world, one might think, ALU, this is small. But Harvard was once just like you are today, or any other great institution of the world. You have begun one of the great institutions of Africa. It's a big vision which has been started on humble beginnings. And yet it has all the audacity of hope that we hold as a continent, of our expectation that we hold as a continent. The big vision will require implementers. Because as the president said, if we have visions and yet we cannot get down to the details of how we execute those visions, we can do nothing. They just remain big visions that might just frustrate us. You know, as I was thinking about what to share with you today, and I listened to the case study. That must be quite something with you guys, huh? Case study. I thought of a case study for you. So maybe I can share one with you of big visions that require humble beginnings and how we attack some of the problems. I've often said on my Facebook blogs, I don't know who follows those, I hear a few people do, that if you want to be truly successful, you must reach out to solve a problem. Identify a human need and reach out to solve it. That is all you need to do. You know, 20 years ago, I was reading a newspaper magazine article, and it had this American entrepreneur on the front page. I don't know what happened to him. But he was talking about building a fiber optic network that would span around the whole world. And he called it Global Crossing. And that these undersea cables would run around, all around the world, run around Africa, go to Asia, the Americas. And he had little spots where these cables would drop in. Of course, I lived in Harare, landlocked country. And I looked at this map and I panicked. And I said, what about us? We're going to be left out of this revolution of the internet. Because we were beginning to talk about the internet. I said, why can't we have an African crossing? Why can't we go and connect those cables that will come from the sea to the African countries that sit within the continent? Maybe we can connect the cities. Maybe we can have an African crossing. So we came up with this audacious project called African Crossing. So where do we begin? That's where vision now meets reality. We decided that we were going to build just from Cape Town to Harare in Zimbabwe. It took us 5 years to cross the border. All of it was political wrangling. There were 17 approvals required, 17, to cross the river between Zimbabwe and South Africa, the Limpopo. And I was trying to cross Africa. And let me tell you, with Wendy Luhabe here, there were 17 approvals, Wendy. 16 were South African. Goodness, even the Bird Society got involved. You know, how do I cross this river? Will a bird land on it and drop the bridge, you know? And finally, we slipped past and we got it built. Don't ask me even today. We got it built. So we got to Harare. And we were digging. We had 5,000 people digging along the sides of the roads. And nobody asked why and for whom are we digging. We just kept hiring villagers and saying, would you like to work along this project? And they had Chinese, it was a Chinese contractor, but maybe that's why no one asked. So we built. And then when we got to Harare, then I revealed to the team that was building that I actually would like them to build to the border with Zambia. But I never told them why. And when we got to the border with Zambia, all hell broke loose. Because suddenly the people in Zimbabwe discovered that there was something else going on. And so we had another wrangle. And finally, I came up with this idea. Went to see the Zambian president and said, you know, I was just trying to bring the internet here, but looks like your neighbor next door doesn't want to let you have the internet because I've just given him the internet. So the following day, I was called and told, what did you tell the guys in Zambia? Because they are making such a big fuss about your cable. Please proceed. So our cable proceeded to Zambia, and then it proceeded to the DRC. And you know what happened there? Oh my goodness, 3 years at the border. So we kind of abandoned Lubumbashi for a while, and we headed to Kenya. And when we arrived in East Africa, we came to Rwanda. And before we had even, I remember someone coming to me and saying, we have all the approvals. I said, but you went there 2 weeks ago. It has taken us 10 years to get here, and you're telling me in Rwanda they have approved everything. But we haven't done anything. They said, well, they've said you can go ahead and build. And so we came to Rwanda. And we built. And we proceeded on to Uganda, and suddenly we're getting a lot of help. And as I speak today, Mr. President, we are 6 weeks from Cairo. We'll be signing an agreement later on this week to complete Cape to Cairo. 60,000 kilometers. Digging with a teaspoon. That's what I used to call it. So what does it tell us? It tells us a couple of simple things that I want you to take away. When you have a vision, we still need people like you to build it. One of the things I realized as we built this platform was that you need to hire entrepreneurs, which was a surprise because you think entrepreneurs are there to start businesses. Steve Jobs is dead, so who gave us the iWatch? If it's all done by the entrepreneur who started the business. No, everybody must be an entrepreneur. We need an entrepreneurial revolution on this continent. And it starts with you. But let me not run ahead of myself. We have started to build from Port Sudan to N'Djamena, across Sudan, 2,500 kilometers, to Port Sudan, to N'Djamena in Chad, which as the Nigerians will tell you is 200 kilometers from the border. We are testing the system because it has been built. We hope to be in Lagos by Christmas. We have already built, we did go back to the DRC, and we showed them that this was about connecting Africa. And they finally said to us, go ahead. So we are now testing for the first time in history, Lubumbashi to Kinshasa. It has been built. It has been built by young Africans from all over the continent. Many of them are entrepreneurs. Many of them were actually building their own businesses, like Sam Nkusi, a Rwandese partner of ours. Because in each country, we built with partners. And Sam is the one who's been busy all week negotiating in Egypt and in Chad so that we can complete the launch ceremonies. The big visions need humble beginnings. If your vision is such that it is so big that you can't start, then you never will start. There is nothing that you cannot do from here. There's nothing we cannot do to build this continent. There's nothing. We have the people, we have the resources. We don't have much. It's true. As I wrote the other week, I said, in Africa, it sometimes seems like we don't have enough of anything. We don't have enough schools. We don't have enough teachers. We don't have enough doctors. We don't have enough whatever. We don't have enough food. But not having enough does not mean we have nothing. We have enough to get going, to drive the transformation that this continent needs. Here's a statistic for you. How many young people do you think turn 18 every month on this continent? Probably 1 million. That's how many jobs we need to create, at least 10 million a year. Is the glass half full or is it half empty? It's up to us. 40% of the world's population, as Fred said a few minutes ago, will be African by the turn of this century. The alarmists will say to us that we will starve. How can we feed 4 billion people? Well, how many of us were there? How many Africans in 1950? Maybe about 250 million. We're 1.2 billion. I didn't bump into many starving people on my way into here. You guys look fine. Okay, we will be just fine. Okay? Don't listen to them. Okay? We've never had a smarter, more equipped generation than the young people that you see before you today. I said to the president earlier, if I could turn the clock back to when I was your age, I would have loved to be sitting with you. This is how we are supposed to do it. You listen to that young lady from South Africa, that young African from South Africa. This is how we are supposed to do it. We need to build more of these centers. So here's what I want you to take away. You're the alumni. This institution is only as good as you, not Fred. Because the thing is, we go and we admire Stanford and we admire Harvard, these great institutions, and they are great. But they were built by the people that went there. They weren't built by governments. They were built by the people that went there. One of our great challenges with our continent is Mother Africa is so big that we often forget that she has needs. Africa is a place where people are used to taking. We need to turn to giving to Africa. Africa needs us to give to her. She needs us to give to her the way President talked earlier on when he gave the example of the families that gave during the liberation struggles. The challenges we have require us to go back to that mindset. How do we give sacrificially to Mother Africa? Not to take from her. She's so big, we forget that she has needs too. She's so fragile. She just doesn't look it. But we have a fragile ecosystem. We have to protect this continent. We have to begin to give back into Africa. So we should not go and think, what can I take out of Africa? But what can I put back in? What can I give to build this place? And it begins here. This institution that you have built. Go back and say, what can we give to build this vision together? This can be scaled. He has the vision, he says 3 million. I have no doubt. This is an extraordinary young man, extraordinary group of people. Knowing how hard it is, I salute Fred. We've been all watching the World Cup, and I'm a proud broadcaster of the World Cup. I hope you enjoy it. Don't forget to download the app, okay? Just got to plug in for a little bit for the business side, yeah? But you watch those young people bring down the ball, dead, boom, stops. 20 years ago, they couldn't do that. It's the skill, it's the training, it's the work that they put into it. They make it look so simple. You guys make it look so simple. But I know how hard it has been. I know how hard it has been on your families. The vision that brought you here is the vision that can make you dig anything with a teaspoon and build anything. Cape to Cairo is a highway. What goes on it, you must build. Rwanda, a remarkable country, a blessed country. My wife wanted to be here with us this morning. She chose to go back to the Genocide Museum. First place I went when I came to Rwanda. Make sure you go back there too. Always remembering that as a compass, that when we don't get it right, the price can be extraordinary. This place, this dream, this vision, this remarkable leadership, God bless you and thank you so much.